Howdy.
How are you?
Good.
No, not yet. You guys heard that.
Welcome, everybody. Consideration or approval of the agenda.
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye. Agenda is approved as submitted. Consideration or approval of the minutes of the October 19 and October 26 meetings. Questions or motion?
I saw we had a couple of things in there, so I was reading the minutes from the 19th. We had talked about having the dog ordinance on tonight. I
Yes.
see it's not on.
No, it's not. You are correct.
Okay. And then on the 26th, there was something about an RCPP grant needing to be talked about tonight because the 10th was the deadline.
Yeah, I'll be giving you an update on that here later on,
Super.
on both those items.
Okay, thanks.
Those comments I move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Minutes of the October 19 and October 26 meetings are approved. Consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Questions or discussion?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye. The consent calendar is approved as submitted. Next item up, we have an oath of office for Dwayne Olendick as a full-time police officer. So what we need to do is to come over here and I will swear you in.
Go ahead. The podium.
No.
Well, I think
Over here by the
we
flag.
normally
We're
do it by
doing
the
it
flag. I
there.
think
Oh,
we
I'm
normally
sorry.
do it by the flag. Yeah.
Thought
Just
you were doing it at the podium.
Leave him alone, Jerry. That's where he's going.
Pardon me.
Get used to it, Dwayne, here. This is going to be a wild ride.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Dwayne Olendick,
Thank you.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
the constitutions of the state of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of police officer
discharge all the duties of police officer
for the city of Charles City, Iowa,
for the city of Charles City, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now and hereafter required by law.
Congratulations.
Okay, very good.
I want to make sure you're ready to go and have to sign.
All right. Very good. Congratulations, Dwayne.
Congratulations, Dwayne.
Next is consideration of Resolution 128-15 approving change order for North Cedar Terrace window painting and Morningside siding replacement project 14-120B. Discussion, and it's my understanding that the intention is to discuss this and at the same time as the next resolution, but we'll be voting on them separately.
Yes, thank you. Watertight Construction, the general contractor for the North Cedar Terrace window painting and the Morningside siding replacement project, has completed the construction of the project improvements, and we have two resolutions before you tonight. as part of this project. And since the two resolutions are directly related to each other, I'll discuss them both at the same time. The first resolution, 128-15, is for the approval of the change orders 1 and 2. This was for additional work to replace sheathing and soffit and fascia at the Morningside Apartments. The total increase in the price for both change orders is $5,716. Resolution 129 is for the City Council's acceptance of the project. The original bid price submitted by Watertight was $74,800, and the finished contract price $80,516. That includes the $5,716 in the extra or the change orders 1 and 2. The original architect's cost per pay for the project was $98,000. So we'd recommend the council approve both resolutions 128 and 129. And also here tonight is Ed Weininger with Wagner Weininger Architects to add any specific information and answer any questions.
You have something?
Yeah, well, substantial completion.
You need to name?
Ed Weininger, Wagner Weininger Architects, Mason City, Iowa. Substantial completion was conducted this past Thursday, October 29th, and there was some minor things that need to be corrected, and they were corrected the next day on Friday, so the project is fully complete at this time. We've received all the paperwork, project closeout paperwork, except the consent of surety. The documents we received are the contractor's affidavit of payment of debts and claims, warranties, operation manual, and asbestos-free certification letter. But we do not have this consent of surety to final payment yet. We've been in contact with Watertight's agent, and they're out of Osage. That was last week, and we still haven't received it. We were in contact with them again. I would assume we're going to receive it any day now within this week. I don't see any issues in terms of receiving the consent of surety.
So I take it that any approval we give you is subject to them receiving that.
I would think that would be wise.
Yeah.
And that would be the final payment, just the application for payment number 2, the retainage, is what that really pertains to. They're asking for 2 payments here, 1 and 2, and 1 is for everything except the retainage, and the final one is for retainage. And the consent of surety would be a portion of the retainage portion of the project.
Questions or discussion?
All work was done satisfactorily and
Yeah,
checked
yes,
out.
it has. And we were over there on several occasions, but Steve, I forget Steve's last name, but he's the maintenance man with Charles City Housing and Redevelopment Authority, and he was over there pretty much on a daily basis checking things out, and we went over with things that he should be checking, and he's wise in construction anyways, but yeah, it's satisfactory.
Okay.
Now,
Other questions or discussion?
I'll say, John, as far as funding goes, they have this, housing has this money to the additional 5,000.
It's part of their capital project.
Part of the,
fund.
okay.
Other questions or discussion?
I'd so move with the caveat that we include language to allow for this document we're still waiting on.
And this is 120, at this point, this is 128-15.
I'd second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr. Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Okay, resolution 128-15 is approved. Next is consideration of resolution 129-15, accepting the North Cedar Terrace window painting and Morningside siding replacement project 14-120B. And we've already had discussion. Is there any further discussion on this item?
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
129-15 is approved. Next up, consideration resolution 130-15 approving change order for agreement with GHD. Discussion.
Yeah, from our discussion on last Wednesday night when we reviewed this with Jeff Coons, we have two things before us. We have a change order for additional work that's being done at the Shaw Avenue dump site, and then a quote for doing the work plan draft, which is item 9D. There was some unclarity as far as the anticipated expenses for the 2 fiscal years. So what I did over the last few days is kind of iron those out with Jeff from GHD to see exactly what we were looking at, what we were anticipating, and what we have in the next 2 fiscal years. And basically that's what you see in my summary that I've put together there. For this current fiscal year, and I guess just to preface this, we're having some additional costs associated with our 5-year review of the Shaw Avenue dump site. Every 5 years it gets reviewed by the EPA and the DNR, and they have some additional testing and requirements that they'd like us to perform. And so some of those additional things need to be checked on as part of our current M&M maintenance, the maintenance and monitoring. And so that's why you see the change order, $17,625. That's an additional work onto what they already do. The work plan draft is the plan to put together how to address some of the new things that EPA has asked us and Zoetis to look at. So the work plan draft, the 11,500, is to put a plan together to address those issues. Then the EPA has a chance to comment on that and make any possible additional changes. So that's an estimated $5,000 more that we could see. When it comes to implementing this work plan, that's a total estimated amount of about $50,000. And we estimate that 2/3 of that would happen in this current fiscal year, and the last third would happen in next fiscal year. So the 2/3 of this fiscal year is the $33,350. And then if there's any other additional surprises I put in there that EPA that comes up with as part of this process, that could be an additional $20,000. And in speaking with Jeff Kuhn further, he thought that $20,000, if that were to happen, would happen in the next fiscal year. So really we're looking at a total cost for this current year closer to $79,887. $650 next year. So what we have first on the docket here is the change order for our monitoring and maintenance in the amount of $17,625. And all these numbers I'm giving you, of course, that's our split. We split this 50-50 with Zoetis. Zoetis has approved their half of the change order, and so now I'm asking if the council approves our half of the change order as well.
Excuse me, the numbers you're giving us here are our costs.
These are our costs. That's correct.
And these are coming out of the general fund at this point.
And we budget this out of the general fund.
What other options do we have of funds taking that out of? I mean, in the future?
It's,
I don't know.
unless we get some type of special revenue to offset this, which I asked for that from
Yeah.
EPA when they were coming out with their review, if they're going to put additional requirements on us for testing. I asked that they provide the funding to cover that, but I haven't gotten a check yet. So aside from general fund revenue, if we want to levy for an amount through a small loan or something in the future.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is for our next budget session, this is something we need to look at. We can't keep tapping general fund for this if it continues on.
Well, I mean, either way, they're general fund dollars. I mean, we
Right.
might want to recoup some of that through
Through a levy.
a levy or debt service loan.
How long has this agreement been in place? So this has been around for a long, long time, right?
So long that we, of course, GHD was kind of still a rover. They've merged, and so we're going to be looking at a new agreement, but the agreement goes back 25, 30 years.
Right. It's always been out of the general fund. It's just been a general fund type expense.
Right, and typically it's about $20,000 to $25,000.
I was going to say the amount's always been around $25,000 in the past, right? So just because of this new testing this year, we're looking at a fairly significant increase. But if this all checks out all right, we kind of go back down towards that 25 to 30 range again.
That's correct.
That's what I'm seeing here anyway.
That'll, and these are, a lot of this is, these are estimates, assuming that we'll have to do everything in the plan. There's working with, Neil Leipzig and now Jeff Kuhn, there's a number of things that we feel in there that the EPA has wanted us to check on that really aren't associated with this plan. So we feel we might be able to negotiate some of those things out. But trying to look at, okay, if we have to, everything that they would test, if we have to test and monitor, all those things, and what it would cost to do that, these are kind of a, I don't want to say worst case scenario, because I guess it could always get worse, I suppose, but as far as what they want us to test, these are pretty solid numbers, and if we're lucky, we might come in underneath that. So.
Since we're having to look at a change anyway, would there be any merit into having another firm bid us a quote on this testing and stuff like that?
Wouldn't be the I mean, it would be the best time to start looking at that as far as our long-term M&M arrangement. I mean, granted, GHD is Conestoga Rover. They have they mutually merged together, and they have all our operating history from out there, and I have full knowledge of the site. But not to say that we couldn't look at another firm to do some more work.
Yeah, sometimes it just pays to get a second opinion.
A little competition.
Now, as part of our discussion we had, there also were several testing sites that have now tested normal, essentially, and have been granted approval to essentially shut them down.
Right. That's part of the change order here is the fact that there's about 11 monitoring wells have been deemed, everything is stable or has decreased where there's the need to monitor them is no longer needed. So we're being allowed to remove those from the EPA. So that's a lot. That's saying that's the first time that's happened in the 25 plus years that we've been doing this. So that's the really good news. But as the area continues to clean itself out and work its way to the river, there are a couple of monitoring wells that have tested consistently higher or have had a stable amount of arsenic and other chemicals. So they want us to verify what we're finding, and check out not just the samples from the well and do additional testing, but also do some additional testing of the soil, the pond water, and some of the aquatic life in the adjacent pond out there. So.
Further questions or discussion?
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay, and this will be on 13-15, which is the change order. Clerk will call the roll.
Star. Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Resolution 13-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 131-15, approving work plan for GHD. Discussion, we had the basic discussion, as I have further questions specifically related to 131-15.
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 131-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 132-15, approving the CEAT Energy Action Plan. Discussion.
Yeah. This is one of the things that we've worked on with our City Energy Advisory Team, which is part of our grant through IEDA and their Energy Conservation Management Program. And what this is basically just a basic policy for city operations for promoting and encouraging energy efficient practices. And we've gone through this with our team and our energy consultants and made some changes and some adjustments. But after that, we've pretty much what you see is, I guess, the results of those reviews. And it doesn't completely eliminate space heaters. I mean, they can be approved.
Well, probably not.
You just can't take my heater away. I'm sorry.
But,
It says something about dressing appropriately, too, in there somewhere.
Well, that'd be part of keeping the temperature down at 50 degrees in the wintertime.
Exactly.
Gosh. Turning blue just
Too much.
thinking
Our
about
poor
it.
clock couldn't take the heat and fell off
Yeah.
the wall that
Yeah.
found it laying on the ground this morning, so. But yeah, basically what you see here is turning lights off in unoccupied rooms, turning off the vents for heat and cooling if it's not being used, drawing the shades in the winter, opening them in the winter, drawing them in the summer, and just doing things that are better practices and more efficient. So nothing in there that is totally unattainable.
Question, do you have some estimate as to as you put these all into effect, what the savings is going to be for the general fund or whatever budget?
I can
We're
come up
talking
with
about?
we kind of see some of that on the plan we put together, but I haven't really put it in a total that really breaks that out so you can see that clearly. But I can certainly do that.
Well, I think it's just noting the preceding item where we took a hit of 50,000 and so on. It wouldn't be a bad idea when we have these positive things to quantify them and, to the extent that that's possible.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll put that together for you.
I can't find it right now, but I know it talks about a program that's been utilized that we're participating in to
Yes, the
track
B3
that type of information.
Yep, the B3 benchmarking.
Yeah.
Yep, that's something we started with this program, and that's been really neat to see. We've got most of our city buildings on there. I think the only exception right now is the water plant, because we're waiting on the final, it was a different group that had to inspect that, but we've seen a number of our different buildings that we've been inputting data on our monthly utility billing from gas usage and electrical usage, and we see where we can make improvements, and we see other areas where we're performing magnificently. And one of those examples is our CBTC. You have the I don't have that here in tonight's folder, but the benchmark for a building of that size, we are operating at less than half of what that is. So I mean, that's the gold star. The City Hall building here, for the most part, is pretty efficient, does pretty well. There's some areas not so much. The library, they could do a little bit better job, and they've seen that, and they can realize that. So it's really neat to be able to see how you compare with similar structures across municipalities in the state, to kind of see, well, we're doing good here, or these are areas where we can improve. So that's been helpful.
You mentioned something in the report about a cost for that depending on what some of these savings are, we might want to look at investing more into continuing that process
That's
long
for the
term?
program in general.
Okay.
They've this initial round of having the state energy manager was part of a grant that the state had received.
Okay.
So then they granted various communities, Charles City included, to be part of that project to implement some of these practices. And now that we're coming up on closing that project out, they have interest in keeping that position as an ongoing thing at the state. And so would communities be willing to help fund that position to a certain level? And it would seem to make sense to us if we can continue to gain more energy efficiency, that we pay back a portion of that to help keep that person in that position, to help keep providing that information. So as we get closer to the end of the grant here and we kind of see how that starts shaping up, that might be something we want to consider and look at. And I know they will ask us if we'll be willing to, and they asked us when we first applied if that was something we'd be willing to do, and I didn't quote them a number or anything, but said, yeah, I guess we'd be, if we can continue to save money each year more and more, it would seem to make sense to pay back in to keep that position available. So
Kind of all depends on what that number is.
it does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Steve.
You bet.
Now, as part of this, I kind of harassed you about it earlier, but are there any items on here that if that we'll be maybe possibly monitoring in the event of maybe a drop in quality of work by an employee if some of these conditions just aren't realistic.
Well, we'll take everything with a grain of salt.
Okay.
You're talking about
Like
taking
if
away
they're
my
too cold.
space heater, aren't you? Or my
Well,
heater.
it's you know, there's some, these are all great, but there's some of these that are to go from one aspect to the polar opposite. You know, there has to be some, you don't want to save money at the cost of the quality of work going downhill. At what point are we, you know, just losing money on the deal?
Right. Well, and I think what this does is it gives you a very good template as to what to do and what the best possible procedure would be, and if there's other costs associated with that doesn't make sense, then it's time to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Did I hear you saying all this, that the city hall is energy efficient?
Pretty much, yeah. It's
That's surprising.
yeah. Or either that, or all the other buildings in the state are equally inefficient. Our lack of windows, that's what helps keep all the heat in.
Right.
You need a motion on 13215?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd
Yeah.
so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Resolution 132-15 is approved. Miscellaneous correspondence. City Attorney's report.
Are you going to talk to him about the...
Yeah, I get to say that, don't I?
Oh, yeah. I won't steal the thunder of the city administrator. Nothing from me.
Don't feel obligated.
Although it was a team effort. So
Yeah.
City
Due diligence, you don't have to do anything.
City Clerk's report.
Oh, gosh. We need to reschedule our November 11th meeting because that is Veterans Day and we will be closed. Yeah. Do we have anybody that's not going to be around on the 10th or the 12th? Which of those days would you prefer, the Tuesday or Thursday?
I will not be on the 10th.
I
Okay.
won't be available on the 10th.
Okay.
I can be here on the 12th.
I'd say let's just shoot for the 12th.
Okay.
There's three of them, and we have no quorum. Or whatever. Well, this is a planning deal.
I'm okay on the
It's a
12th.
planning session. Are you okay on the 12th, Keith? I think we're looking
Think
probably
so.
for that. Okay, we'll make it the 12th then.
7 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, the 12th.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
Nope, that should do it.
City Administrator's report.
Well, just to update you on the RCPP grants, this week we're working on kind of the final push for our watershed grant, and so we'll be submitting that application probably on Friday officially, but doing a lot of the final legwork on it on Thursday. The way it's coming together, we have the city portion of this is going to be some in-kind labor from city staff, but there's going to be a need for a person in the field, kind of a liaison between landowners and farmers and the city. And it sounds like between all of our partners that we're putting together, we are going to be able to fund and do those projects through our other partners. So the city won't have a cash outlay in that respect. So that's very good news. Our main portion of this grant is going to be the overall reporting. Will be the final receiving point for the quarterly reports and submitting those to the USDA. And so it's a big effort. It's a big grant. We're looking at we've got about a $2 million local match with all our partners, and we're going to be applying for the same amount for another $2 million, and that's going to be used towards implementing water management practices, buffer strips, bioreactors, those type of things on grounds in Huckate watershed north of Charles City to help improve water quality, soil quality, and help improve flood mitigation. So it's a big grant. It's an exciting grant, and it's going to be nice to be part of that. But that's officially due on November 10th. But we've been working closely with the DNR and Mary Beth Stevenson, and she's been helping collect a lot of information and write the grants, and so we'll be working to finalize that on Thursday. Dog ordinance, as we last talked, we talked about having that on the agenda for tonight for our first reading. I just heard back from our pet data company that we talked about as far as being a potential company to do the licensing for us. For a community our size, it doesn't appear like it's going to make sense to go with them at this time. I told them we'd probably have about 250 dogs to register, and they said that usually it's communities that have about 1,500 dogs or more will really find the benefit. I said, well, would you just give me a quote, please? And so I finally got a quote, and it's a minimum of $6,000 a year to utilize their service. And the way our pricing structure and our dog estimation is going to be, that would be more than what we would pull in from the service. So with that being said, we have to approve the ordinance with the annual due date rather than not having a due date. And so we're looking at setting our annual due date for March 1st annually for when registrations are going to be due. And so now that we know that's the direction moving forward, I'll plug in those changes, and we'll get a resolution drafted to reflect that and have that for the workshop here next week, so we can talk about that and start down the road and getting that approved. So. And the next thing I wanted to mention was, as you recall, we updated our rental registration policy so that we had an annual due date with that as well, due October 31st of every year. And kudos to the Code Enforcement Department, Hugh and Jason Webster specifically. We have all registrations are completed.
Wow.
They're all in.
Wow.
And so we didn't have any that lapsed. Had a number of them coming in on Friday, getting everything completed, but everybody's registered for the year. So it was kind of a fun thing to see. Nice to get that done. So thank you, Hugh. And then just last thing to mention is tomorrow's election day. So get out and exercise your right to vote. That's all I have.
Okay. Board, commission, or committee reports? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
Third.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're adjourned.
Good, how are you, Dan?
Walking
And
around.
I
Yeah,
think
down
Europe
here.
is
Yep.
ahead of us on this.
No, I've got a copy of it.
I was thinking,
Uh,
we don't, Dan.